We are live. What is up, friends? Brian B.
Miss Megan.
And Miss Emily.
Who's behind the camera? Benjamin. He doesn't have a microphone. We have our mics right here. So, this is our Q&A hangout session. So, who's got some questions? Type them in. Benjamin will write. Well, we can actually see them here. So, yeah, type them in and we'll chat.
If we check both things.
We will check. We'll go back and forth. We'll check. I'm going to slide these off to the side. Can you pull up Facebook for me there?
I can.
So, State of the Union, what's going on here? Let's just catch up with what's up with West Coast Swing Online. We have our giveaway running, so if you guys have not entered that, we are giving away $500 in private lessons with a teacher of your choice, plus a lifetime subscription to West Coast Swing Online, which will soon include a lot of social dances like two-step, nightclub, cha-cha, East Coast Swing, and more. So we will drop a link in the description below. You guys can enter that. The more you share it on social media with your friends, when your friends enter with the link that you share, you will get extra entries to the competition. So the more we push this out to, the bigger chance you have to win. So that's one thing that's closing up here the 31st.
It ends Monday evening.
Ends Monday evening. We will draw the winner on Tuesday and contact you via email. You'll have to enter your email address. That's how we will contact people. We will report to everyone who won and probably have some extra prizes for those of you guys who don't, because that's what we do. We give stuff away. What else is going on here? We are working. We have a rough outline of our live schedule for next week. We will officially finish that off either late tonight or early tomorrow, and we'll add all the links like usual. We're kind of combing over what people seem to like and don't like. So if there's something you want to see, this is your last chance to get it in before we make that live.
Where would they send that?
You can send it in the description here if you're watching. That's probably the easiest way. And we'll be up. What's up, Gordon? I think you get the record for the most classes joined. So thank you. We appreciate the support. If you have got any questions, let us know. Where do you want to start, gang? What's up with you?
Not much. We just did our 32 count choreography video, so if you're interested in that, you can send in your videos to brian@westcoastswingonline.com, and Miss Megan is going to splice all of the videos together, so if you don't have a partner, she's going to split screen you with a leader, someone doing the leader's part.
Or follower.
Or follower's part.
And make sure if you're doing that, followers, make sure the camera's to your left side and leaders to your right side.
Think opposite.
Yeah, there you go. Good point.
And have them in by Wednesday evening.
Good deal. You are welcome. Someone on Facebook said they are doing a watch party via Zoom. So that's super cool, a watch party via Zoom, because we kind of thought watch party, that sounds cool. We do the US Open watch parties. Wait a minute, we can't get together. But you're doing it virtually, so
Yay!
Congratulations.
Super fun.
Yeah, that's really, really fun. So if there's anything you guys want for a future watch party, let us know. We will put it in the groove. We're here for you guys. And this is keeping us sane too, right? Because we're in the same boat. So this provides a little normalcy for us. Hello, Miss Soraya. I see you just joined the live feed.
And Wendy.
What's up with you, Miss Megan?
Not much.
Tell people real life about you. Dogs and...
Oh yeah, I got 2 Australian Shepherds that are amazing. I love them. Taz and Patch, they're adorable. And Taz likes to snuggle. Patch is being trained and he doesn't like it.
That's Megan's life outside of dancing, is dogs.
And my family.
What do we got going on? You guys had questions. You had questions? What kind of questions do we have? What do you guys have for questions? Because they're going to ask me questions. That's going to be awkward.
Well, we're going to ask
It's not
all
going to
of
be
us
awkward.
questions.
It's all questions for everyone.
So, Megan, what got you into dancing?
Well, I was pretty much dancing from the time I was born to now. So my mom was a ballet dancer. So that's a thing. I hated ballet until I quit, and I actually liked it in the end. And then I started figure skating when I was 10 years old. So 15 years I was a figure skater, and that was a true passion of mine. I loved it. And I just, I'm still dancing. We found a ballroom dance studio when I was 15, I think. And here I am.
Boom, baby. And wasn't this style of dance, ballroom dancing, a your way out of ballet? Wasn't that your agreement with your mom?
Not exactly. So skating got to be a little much mentally with competing and all. So we thought we needed another form of something to do. And so we were actually trying to find a gym.
And you stumbled into dancing.
Yeah.
And here you are now.
Because dancing is better than working out at the gym.
There you go.
Yes, it is.
How about you, Miss Emily? How'd you get into dancing?
I started dancing when I was 3.
Cheaters, both of you.
Well, you know. And I was at a place that did a lot of recitals, and my mom was not the biggest fan of what they were doing. So she went to a jazzercise class one day, and in another room, there was a ballet class, and I basically told my mom, I think when I was like 4 or 5, that I wanted to do that. And so from then on, I was doing ballet and then jazz and hip hop and contemporary and all that good stuff through college. Had never done ballroom dancing, got a job because I wanted to go to New York and be on Broadway.
So fancy.
I know. And so they said that I needed to add ballroom dancing to my dance resume. And so I got a job at Go Dance. Shout out to Go Dance, Miley, Shadri, Susan Kirkland. And I worked there for a couple years, got a partner, didn't end up moving to New York, but here I am in Louisville. Woo! Yay! So yeah, that's how I got started dancing.
Boom. I walked into a bar when I was 21, and I like girls.
And you did lots of line dancing.
That's the short story. That is the short story. Joey says he started at Arthur Murray's in West Coast Swing, and it's different having trouble. Joey, give me some context, and because I speak fluent ballroom, and I speak fluent West Coast Swing, and I speak fluent country, and I speak
he speaks it
no
all.
Argentine tango, and I speak a little salsa with an accent.
And chips.
I speak no hustle, but I speak a few dance languages, so I can probably add some help in context. But the long story is, I walked into a bar when I was 21. I had just started a business, so I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I dropped out of college because I knew I'd make a terrible employee, and walked into a bar when I was 21 for stress relief to go to a dance class on Friday night. And that one night a week turned into 2, it turned into 5, and I was waking up on Monday morning and I was addicted. I was like a junkie because I couldn't dance till Wednesday. I can distinctly remember being at work on Monday morning and I was just freaked out that I wasn't gonna be able to dance till Wednesday, and that was a horrifying feeling. And so I thought maybe I should do this, and then I basically lived the life of a starving artist over the next several years. I started competing in line dancing and in country, and had an opportunity to travel throughout the US and throughout the world, and the train just never stopped. And so when I got in my late 20s, I thought I should be responsible, and we opened a studio. I got into my late 30s and thought I should continue to grow our business, and so here we are now with a couple of events, online lessons, 2 studios, and we do 3 dance cruises a year, save for the current restrictions. Yeah. But we will cruise again, don't you worry.
Yes.
We will cruise again. What was the second question on your list? So we're going to
We
answer
can
our
skip
own
that.
questions.
No,
But-
we cannot.
Yeah, we can. So
Emily, what's your
is
favorite?
No, I get to ask a question. What is your favorite style to teach?
Feisty. I'm gonna hack that question in my own way because I've thought about this before. I've thought about this 2 weeks ago. And I'm gonna go with currently, not all time, but currently where I am in my dance career and what I want. Right now, I am most passionate with helping people with the journey. So anyone who's on a journey, preferably, and I hope this doesn't sound elitist, but people who are further along the journey in dancing. So competitive students, really at any level, or professionals, especially newer professionals or people moving from amateur to professional, because I've done this long enough and I've seen enough cycles of people that I always thought that I would kind of gain this knowledge through going through the process and helping people, and that it would be useless because there'll only be a couple of people to share with. But what I found is that there are far less people at the bottom of the pyramid, right? We all start as new people, and as we go down, there's only a few people that end up being competitors and a few people that end up becoming professionals, but that the relationships with those students are much, much deeper than just coming in and learning some steps. So no shade on those people who are coming in and learning steps. That's the base of us. In fact, that's what we're trying to support through this channel and through our videos is I want to be the people's champion of dance teachers, right? I want to help fix all the struggles and keep people going. But specifically as a teacher on the dance floor, I like the relationship building and the path through all of this. That's my current favorite.
It
wasn't a style.
Boom. It's not a style, but I hacked.
Overall.
I hacked your question. So it doesn't matter. I famously do not dance the country dance 222. So when you see 222 videos on our channel, it will not come from me because I can't do the basic. So I famously don't like it, but I have enjoyed coaching 222 because outside of the weird basic, and we'll get into that in another discussion.
Another discussion.
The concepts of dancing are still the same. So I am fortunate that I have a deep enough skill set that I can approach even dance forms I really haven't seen with just a little bit of background and apply the principles of bodies moving together and dance movement. So there you go. So I even like dancing, so it doesn't matter what the dance is. It really doesn't.
Megan, what about you?
Oh Lord, I think that probably most people that teach probably like teaching their favorite dance the most.
Use this like a microphone.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Yes, so I like teaching two-step a lot. It does happen to be not very hard, but harder than the initial dance that I teach would be rumba to most beginners. Definitely not West Coast to teach first because it's really hard. But yeah, two-step I think would be my favorite dance to teach because I like to do it.
Right on.
Emily?
What's your favorite dance to teach?
So it's a similar answer. I like twofold. So when you first come in, I like teaching rumba and foxtrot because I think that those are ones that you can they're easy to pick up. You can actually use them a lot of different places, weddings, all that stuff, but it does tie into other styles of dance later on. But I think two-step's super fun to teach. I'm also from Texas, so it kind of fits. And West Coast swing is also a lot of fun as well. It is tricky, but it's also fun to see kind of the light bulbs that go off later on. So I think it's tricky to start with, but tons of people do it. Can totally be done. But I think it's fun to see a little bit more the dancers that get kind of those light bulb moments for West Coast. Tango's also super fun, and nightclub.
Tango's good.
I'm super indecisive, and I like all dancing.
Boom. Gordon asks to all of us, how are we able to attract students to come in to teach when we first started? So,
we meet you at the door.
we meet you at the door. Yeah, so that's an interesting question. And I'm going to answer it from a studio perspective, but I can also share some thoughts for non-studio perspective. So if you're talking about not in a studio environment, let me know, because quite frankly, here we run Dance Louisville as a business. So we make sure that our website is on point because people are going to go to Google and search for wedding dance lessons and couples dance lessons and that type of stuff. So our SEO and our dance studio is on point in our city. We use Google AdWords pretty extensively. Those are the little ads that show up above because we know if someone's typing something into Google that they're pretty darn interested, especially if they're in a local market, so we're targeting stuff that way. And then once they come in the door, I'm gonna let Megan, because she speaks so infrequently, explain kind of what we do when people come in the door that I think is not different, but I think that's at least thought out.
All right, so when people open the door, we yell at them.
That's awesome.
Not yell. We don't yell. We go, welcome to Dance Louisville.
Like, welcome to Mo.
And we actually have had people close the door. True story. So yeah, we try to make them feel as welcome as possible and excited as possible to learn what they have come in to do. So, there.
Yeah, and to make that welcome to Dance Louisville thing,
It's like welcome to Moe's.
yeah, if you go to Cold Stone Creamery here in the States, it's a it's an ice cream place. When you walk in, they say, welcome to Cold Stone. Or Moe's is a Mexican restaurant. They say, welcome to Moe's. So the idea is that we try to create a culture that fits our personality. And I'm aware that that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the perfect fit for everybody, right? But if we try to keep every single person happy, we're going to keep nobody happy. Yeah, that's why we're doing this. So yeah, by creating a culture of what you can expect, but yeah, for sure, literally, it's thought out from what we say on the phone is thought out, and it's natural, but it comes from a script, because we've learned over the years what types of struggles people have, and we handle them right off the bat, and then we have a little script we run them through, which is designed to make them as comfortable as possible, and then when they show up at the door, we have a greeting that's designed to make them as welcome as possible, and we have a process that we try to walk them through lessons, from a free lesson to some introductory lessons. All of that's designed with the understanding that it's difficult to start, and that very few people walk in and are too super comfortable. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think, well, I was joking, but meet you at the door is one thing that we have in one of our studio promos. So it's super daunting to get through the door. Once you're through the door, you've taken the biggest step. Like, that's the hardest part of the entire thing.
Ben is even nodding behind the camera.
Ben is nodding behind the camera. And so once you're in, we try to all introduce ourselves, make them feel super welcome, because like I said, it's very, very overwhelming for most people if you're not outgoing and an extrovert. So most people, this is a brand new environment, and we just try to, it's a family run business, so I think it has a dance family feel, and I think that's what makes people feel the most welcome.
For sure, and I think it's also important, like if you are, and I'll cover a couple different off-the-wall things, if you're an event goer and you want people to come to an event, hey, this is gonna be awesome, this is gonna be great, I want you to keep in mind, it's also good to explain to them, it will be overwhelming. Even the people walk into events for the first time, it's overwhelming. So I say, you should come, this is awesome, it's great, you share all the things that you love about it, but say, when you come in, it's going to feel overwhelming, that's totally normal, right? So that, at least in our experience, has helped people. So when they walk in and they get that overwhelmed feeling, they kind of go, oh, someone told me that this is going to happen and that everyone goes through this, and so this is happening just like it should. Because otherwise people walk in, it's overwhelming, and then they freak out and they go into their insecurities and they think, it's just me, it's just me that feels this way, everyone knows what they're doing. Not true at all, not necessarily true.
Somewhere.
Yeah, so I explained that right off the bat. Someone asked Andy asked if we can
Almost did that.
cover the basket whip. Emily says she almost did that last night. Yes, we will cover the basket whip.
We got it.
Megan, put on the list.
Okay.
Up here.
West Coast Swing on Facebook. We're louder, hopefully. Is this better? Let us know. Yeah, Joey, if to answer your question that we'll kind of, since I didn't see a reply. Did Joey reply?
No.
So West Coast Swing, if you learn it in a ballroom dance studio, it can be different. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to carefully slag, English term for make fun of a few ballroom dance instructors. And here's what I mean. In ballroom dancing, we have a syllabus, right? We all kind of agree on a general progression. Bronze, silver, gold. If you say those words to people in ballroom dance studios anywhere in America and even in other countries, they're going to understand there's a progression, everything's written down. West Coast is not written down, right? And in the ballroom world, because it's written down and we know there's a hierarchy of amateurs and professionals, there seems to be a path. That develops a lot of confidence in the dance teachers to understand the path. Then what happens is a little ego can creep in, and this has happened even not with you, but with some coaches that we had who will remain nameless because I love them. They're amazing ballroom dancers, American rhythm dancers, and they would talk about West Coast Swing as if they knew, and they didn't. They just didn't. It's like if I talk about salsa like I know. I don't. I'm a functional teacher, right? We can teach all the basics. I learned them from good people, so I'm not going to screw you up to start, but I don't even though I can apply my own knowledge to it, I'm not an expert in salsa, right? But sometimes the ballroom dancers then go to their syllabus and have some patterns which are likely left over from 1988, and they teach those patterns, and that it seems so different from what we're doing in modern day West Coast Swing. And it's just because West Coast Swing functions differently as what I call a street dance. And it doesn't have a written down syllabus. So there's a little bit of a disconnect. And if you're not in the community, so to speak, in the West Coast Swing world, the girls are laughing. What are we laughing at?
Sorry, we were looking at the questions.
Yeah, so if you are not, totally lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
So West Coast Swing is a street dance, right? And it just functions differently in its community than the ballroom dance does. So what ends up happening is ballroom dance teachers and studios are sort of trapped away from our moving, quick changing culture. And so the teaching is a little different. On that note, if you're in a ballroom dance studio and you're trying to dance some stuff and you have a teacher that is interested, send them our way, because we try to design the core of our teaching, not everything. We sometimes do some BS just for fun, some crazy choreography, cool moves, not super leadable stuff, but I would say 95% of our stuff is designed that you can show someone a video and it will work and the functions and techniques will work. So you could give it to any ballroom dance teacher that understands dancing and they can decipher it and you'll have modern day West Coast Swing to use. How did we meet and start working together? I'm gonna start with Miss Megan.
Okay, so that ballroom dance studio that I went into when I was 15. Yeah, no, Brian wasn't there. I started with a awesome instructor named Doug.
Shout out to
he
Doug.
was great. I love him. And then shortly thereafter, Brian came into the studio. I guess he moved back to Louisville after a stint somewhere else. Go dance in Texas, apparently. And yeah, so right before my 16th birthday, I think, is when I started taking lessons from Brian B.
And I showed up in July of 2004 at a studio here back in Louisville. I moved back for a professional partner, and I was given, it's one of the few times that I worked for a studio. So for about 3 months, I worked for the studio. Not a great studio owner. We'll talk about him later at some point, but we'll keep it light. Yeah. And so we, in my first set of lessons, my first set of students was Miss Megan, and basically we have danced every week since. And then in late 2012, I had a friend who had moved here from England with his wife at the time. Yeah, and so he told me he's got this like ballroom girl, right? Which is this ballroom.
Didn't do ballroom at all.
Whatever these that's to us.
He wanted me to do
To
ballroom.
us, you guys are all ballroom girls, and so there's this ballroom girl, and so we go to a competition in late 2012, and I meet the ballroom girl who's running nervously in to get ready for the competition, and that's how Miss Emily came into the fold. And then behind the camera, Ben, when did you start? What year? 2012? 13. It was 13. Yeah. February 13? Yep. Boom. I got it. So Ben walks in and comes to a workshop and tells us that he learns much faster than most people, so that's why he doesn't know how to dance at all.
Dang.
He says he was better dressed than most people. He was dressing just like me.
Same vest, right?
Yeah. So Ben came in and he proved to be a quick study, and I'm going to shout out to Ben, who is maybe not the most talented. Is that fair? Is that fair? He's shaking his head. What's that? He's not naturally talented, but he's worked quite hard, and he is now Miss Emily's professional partner, who is quite talented.
I mean, I've been dancing since I was 3, so.
Yes. So hard work and consistency, good instruction, and a good environment will go a long way. So that answers Donna's question on how did we meet. Brian asks, what's up? Shut up, Brian. Do any of us do shag? We'd love a basic lesson or two. The short answer is no. But we started today a little bit. And we had some questions about Lindy Hop and some things. So we are actually in the process, the very early stages of trying to find some good instructors that are like-minded in terms of the way they teach and the way they approach dancing, and try to expand into some dances. Lindy Hop was brought up. Shag now is on the table. So within our skill set, I would feel uncomfortable
I've done like 2 lessons.
doing it, right? But we do have a lot of resources. So if you know a really good shag teacher or a really good yeah, if you know a really good shag teacher or a really good Lindy Hop teacher that preferably lives close to Louisville, hit me out. What's the next question? Yeah.
Brian at westcoastswingonline.com.
Martin just asked a good question on YouTube.
Let me hop back. I'm on Facebook now. Gunnar asks, like, how much is a course at your place and how long does it last? I would assume
Does he mean lessons?
a lesson. So private lessons here are $85 an hour. We do have some tuition rates that go down to about $70 an hour. But if you came in here and you were flying through Louisville and you stopped in and took a lesson, it's $85 an hour. And typically our students take a lesson a week or so, but
55 minutes.
55 minutes, the basic part of an hour. If that doesn't answer your question, Gunnar, let me know. Donna, yes, it is fun to have fun together. We've done a lot together over the years. All sorts of fun stuff, yeah.
Oh boy. I didn't mean that in a bad way.
I didn't either.
Martin answered a question. I look very robotic, upper and lower body, when I dance West Coast Swing. Any tips to solve that problem? I'm going to hand this to Emily, and then I'm going to sort out a help to the answer.
Okay. So one thing, we kind of went over it in our styling class the other day, because we get that question a lot, that we feel very blocky, we feel robotic when we start doing West Coast Swing. So one of the things that you can start to do is roll through your feet. And I think that there are tons of resources on West Coast Swing Online about rolling through the feet in the styling courses for both leaders and ladies or followers. So that's one thing. The other thing is kind of being comfortable moving different parts of the body. So we actually have a class coming up, I think next
That's why I pulled it up.
Friday.
Next Friday, 8 o'clock.
For styling, body isolations and movement. So the ability to move your head in one way, move your shoulders or your rib cage, move your hips, move your legs in different ways is going to help all of that. I don't know if you can see Brian kicking his leg up, but it helps with all of, now you can. It helps with all of the movement to be a little bit more fluid. I don't know what's happening in between us. Megan,
Synchronized swimming.
watch that. We're losing it. We're losing it in the coronavirus. But I think that class will be very helpful, and rolling through the feet, making sure that you know where your weight is and all of that good stuff is.
I'm watching myself on delay now.
There's some good things to work on to feel less robotic.
That's terrible. Sickled feet and everything. Oh, terrible. I'm getting old. It's terrible. I used to be good. Oh, we're having fun. We're having fun.
That's what it's all about in your daily dose of dance. We're having fun because we are out of the house. And
Gordon jumped in. Is there an exact level? Do you understand exactly?
Can't even see it.
Hang on, Gordon. We're reading.
Exact level you have to be at to start teaching somebody else, I think.
Oh, that's a great question, Gordon. Is there an exact level you have to be at to start teaching someone else? And I have an unpopular answer because there's not. Because I think the culture, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, the culture is people say, I can't believe, I'll use Ben because he's sitting in front of me, like, I can't believe Ben's teaching, right? Because they remember Ben as the new student. I have a different take. So the culture is like, there's this big divide line between like highly qualified professional and everybody else. But if you take that imaginary line away and say that I always think of it as an upside down triangle, like a funnel, right? Everyone's new in the beginning, and we shake down into the level of advanced dancer, and we shake down into professionals and competitors, and eventually there's a world champion at the bottom of that dance style, right? So, but really, if there was an imaginary line, just because someone's right above the line and then the professional's just on this level of line, there's not a big difference. So I think I would like to see an apprenticeship program. So if we used some sort of imaginary newcomer, novice,
say a belt system.
Yeah, a belt system in martial arts, right? Where there's for sure the black belt or the expert in the room, but once you achieve, and I'll stay away from belts because that's confusing colors, but if I move out of the newcomer level to the novice level, or in ballroom, if I move out of the bronze level to the silver level, What I'm good at is moving out of the previous level. So that's an experience that I can share. So I think as long as you're fair, right, and you say, hey, I can tell you how I moved from this level to this level, and my experiences are raw. I just did it 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. I think that's a good place to develop and sharpen the saw, and you develop your skill set of teaching. And you're not telling someone you can teach them to be the world champion. You can't. But I would like to see that type of system and culture. That's not in place in mass in most places. In some other places in the world, that apprenticeship program is. It's not common, certainly here in America. If you guys have any thoughts, you want to chime in?
In Ballroom, they have mixed proficiency, which
In amateur ballroom,
is what I meant. They have mixed proficiency, which is essentially a novice dancer is then dancing amateurly with a newcomer dancer or bronze level dancer, which isn't exactly teaching, but it's the same idea. I do feel like you need to have a good base of patterns before you start, of the dance that you're going to teach somebody, before you start teaching somebody. But for what Brian said, yeah, I mean, it kind of happened to me when I first started teaching, is I was looked at as a student, not a teacher. So for sure, that's a thing.
Yeah, and since Megan brought that up, like that was a struggle here in the studio because people had always seen Megan as my student, and I saw Megan as my student of 10 years-ish at the time, right? Maybe 8 years. So someone who is dedicated in learning but just chose to keep her amateur status and not hang the shingle on the door that said she was a teacher. But people saw her as under. And I looked at it and I was like, man, there's people that have been dancing 2 years, were talented, and hung their shingle out and called themselves as a professional, right? And had 6 less years of experience than Megan did, right? So that's the culture that we kind of fight against. But I recommend that you start instructing as soon as you can, as soon as you feel comfortable, that you're clear with what you're giving away to your student. You know, so in Country Western, Megan and I got all the way to 2nd place in the world in our most recent run a couple years ago. So my joke when I'm teaching other professionals is, hey, I'm not sure if this technique is good enough to get you to the world championship, but I guarantee I can get you to 2nd place. And the joke about that is that I'm saying, hey, look, here's my qualifications. I didn't win this particular contest, but I got pretty darn close, right? Anything to add for you?
No, I was going to say basically the same thing that Megan did. Just being comfortable with what you are teaching, so make sure that you know what you're teaching before you try to teach it. I think that's the biggest part, is understanding, and then understanding both parts.
Yeah, and here's another key. You will learn more from teaching than you ever will from doing it yourself.
We are all students.
100%. I learn much more.
Learning.
Yeah, I learn much more as a teacher because it clarifies your information. I could go on that forever. But Gunnar, I just dropped an article we did on practicing without a partner that if I quickly look over it, yeah, what are some of the things? So and we've got this question a couple times on the questions. You can practice your footwork, you can practice your posture, you can practice your weight transfer and rolling through your feet, you can practice your balance, your shaping, your musicality. And so what we did is we have a blog post that I dropped in the description on Facebook, and I'll also do it on YouTube here, with an article that kind of overviews all that, and then also links out to any videos or blog posts we have on the subject. So that is the most current best resource we have to all of those different things. So I just dropped that link in both Facebook and YouTube. So hopping back to Facebook comments, what's your best tip for protecting your knees and shoulders and feet as dancers as we age? And I'm going to hand this over to Miss Emily.
I guess we should roll a dice. So that would be awesome. Maybe we'll do that in the next one. So protecting, I think a lot of different factors kind of come into play. I think taking care of your body in general, so being active, whether it's walking, whether it's running, whether it's dancing, any of those things is good to keep your health up and stay active because that's good. And it's also good to do right now because you've got ample time to do that. But as far as your knees and your feet and your shoulders and all of that, there are making sure that, for instance, like your knees are aligned with your feet and they're not going in opposite directions when you're doing dancing, when you're walking. Anytime that you are, what was it? Feet, knees, shoulders. Shoulders. Leaders, making sure you're not yanking your partner. Ben is singing the head, shoulders, knees, and toes song behind the camera. So leaders, I think one of the things is making sure that you're not yanking your partner. Followers, if you are feeling yanked, kind of either don't dance with that partner anymore, tell them, or kind of protect yourself and shorten your own connection. So we actually had a student get a pretty bad shoulder injury, frozen shoulder, the other, 3 years ago, something like that? From doing a two-step with a guy, and he like yanked her this way. And so the more you can kind of hold your ground as far as where your arms should be for turns, or completely loosen it, do not tighten up, do not fight it, because that will make it worse. So anytime you're doing the Apache whips, like the patterns we did last night, or yes, it was just last night, or any turns that are happening, make sure that you are in the right position. And if you feel like you're being yanked, either let them know, because maybe they don't realize it, or hold your Barbie arm where it's supposed to be.
So these two are young enough that stuff hasn't broken on them, but I have had a broken arm and a bad back that I've fought for years. So I dropped a couple of different things in the descriptions in both YouTube and Facebook. One of them is our West Coast Swing ebook. So if you guys haven't picked that up, there is a section on like how to protect shoulders and feet. I don't remember exactly what's in that because it took, Megan's jotting down things in a terrible way that I can't understand. But download the West Coast Swing ebook. I can't remember off the top of my head what resources, but I do remember there's an article or two on maybe on knees and maybe on shoulders and maybe on feet. So there's some things practical to West Coast Swing. And then on the other side of things, there is a YouTube channel that I actually patterned. These guys don't even really know too much, but that I actually patterned West Coast Swing Online after. It's now called, can I hop in there, please? It's now called The Mobility State is the name of the YouTube channel. And Megan just
delete it.
Made it go away.
I did not. It's like right there.
It's now called the Mobility State? The Ready State. Anyways, I dropped the link in the description below. A guy by the name of Kelly Starrett. He is a physical therapist, and he's a really good athlete. And just talking about human movement, and oddly enough, because I've watched hundreds of his videos, right? So if you have a bad shoulder, find that YouTube link that I dropped for the Ready State, his YouTube channel. Go in there and hunt through and say, I got a bad shoulder, and look for shoulder stuff. And there'll be all sorts of exercises. And as you read through or listen to several of the videos, they're all like a lot like our videos, like 2 to 5 minute long, most of them. You'll start to understand about the shoulder and about the different things. And I came across a video, you guys don't even know this, where he had a customer who is a CrossFit, a member of his CrossFit gym, who is a West Coast Swing dancer. Back in the day when we used to dance on the Latin heels as the leaders. And so Kelly broke down like why that's bad and what types of things he needed to do with his ankles. So I use to this day a ton of his mobility stuff to help my body move better as a dancer. For sure, when we were dancing, those mobility things from his channel kept me up to date. So the ebook, try that because there's some good stuff there. And then number 2, Kelly Starrett's YouTube channel. So I don't lose track of this. Going back to Facebook, so that handles Donna's question for what to do with your feet, knees, shoulders as we age. Head and shoulders, knees and toes. Lynette says, thanks for doing these the past 2 weeks. Because of the time zone difference, she normally doesn't get to watch, but we get to see the replays. Yes, the replays are available. West Coast Swing Online /live. Next week or the week after, if we stay on lockdown, which it sure looks like we are, I might test some weird times out for those of you guys who are overseas and for those of you guys who are on the West Coast. So they're looking out going, It's crazy. So we'll see. We'll see. I might test
Megan
some.
won't be here for a 2 a.m. party. Sorry.
Maybe DJ Louie will maybe
play you into the
he
night.
can play you into the evening. That'd be fun.
Yes. Someone said you learn so much from teaching and having to explain what you're doing to another person that process teaches you about your own dancing. 100%. We wrote an article several years ago about ways that you can, 5 ways to remember your patterns. Right, I'm going to put that, keep that in, 5 ways to remember your patterns, West Coast Swing. Because I don't remember all the 5 ways that we wrote down. We have so much content. It's like 400 blog posts, an ebook that has 400 pages, and we're currently probably in excess of 600 videos we've done so far. So I know quite a bit of it. That's good. Hit enter. Boom. And Google does the work for us. So number 5 of the 5 ways to remember your patterns. Number 1 was to take notes in video. Number 2 is to practice your steps immediately and often. Number 3 is to use visualization. Number 4 is to look at the basic within the underlying pattern that you're trying to remember. And number 5, and this is the more advanced, is to teach someone else, because that will really solidify what you're doing. And that doesn't mean be a douche in group class and tell people what to do,
Do
but
not do that.
but that's all right. What I know is
We also have some YouTube videos coming out in April or whenever we're off of coronavirus shutdown that are going to touch on a lot of these topics. So we already have some on remembering patterns, but there's also, I think, a new one coming out as well.
Be on the lookout.
lots of stuff. And I think most of you guys are probably on our email list. If you're not, easiest way, you can just download that ebook in the description below. So you get the ebook, which is an awesome resource. And then number 2, you will be on our Move of the Week list. So we send our emails twice every month, every other Tuesday at 2. We're sending them a little bit more frequently now because we've got a lot of stuff that we are sharing, and a lot of us have a little bit extra free time. What other questions? Gordon says, thanks to us for our teaching, and he's looking forward to finding time to dance with us, the 3 of us, when we have time at an event. We hope to have some time for you too, Mr. Gordon. You are. It has a little top fan next to your name.
Where do you live?
Singapore.
Oh,
Singapore. How
nice.
cool is this virtual stuff that I know
That's
I know where you live? I was in Singapore. We just had a discussion. My nephew was in town. We were talking about
Doing better
Singapore.
with coronavirus than most people.
Yeah, that is a great when I first went there in like 2000, I think I spent my birthday, my 28th birthday. I think I spent my 28th birthday in Singapore. My birthday lasted 36 hours because of the time
Before
change.
I
That's
knew you.
awesome.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. So I love that country. It was a great time. I'd love to come back. Any other questions, gang? Oh, I see someone typing something in. Hang on, I'm going to refresh because we're not keeping up with...
Yeah, we are.
I'm pretty sure.
No, when we
That's our stuff.
refresh, a bunch of stuff pops up. I'm telling you. I'm not telling you. Maybe.
Ben just said no.
He can't see our screen.
Yes,
Yes, he can.
He's on it.
That's what he's been doing.
Question that popped up on the live feed.
Okay, there you go. Boom.
Whenever you refresh, that learn thing comes up. That learn
There you
more
go.
thing.
He likes to learn.
Learn. Oh, Angela.
Angela said, here, you can read that because it has a word that you know. And a word that you hate. Word that you love, ballet. Word that you hate, yoga.
Are there any other exercises, ballet, yoga, etc., that are complementary practices to improve West Coast swing? So yes, as Brian said, I am not a huge yoga fan. I really like Pilates,
I am. I'll talk about yoga in a second.
No yoga.
but I for sure love ballet. So stretching in general is just good. Whether it's a ballet stretch, yoga, whatever, any stretch that you're doing, any stretch that you do kind of helps the body in many ways. So that are complementary practices to improve West Coast swing. I think the more you get into styling, so whether you're doing like lunges, that kind of thing, that's when you're really gonna need more, yes, and flexibility. But when you're first starting out, I don't think that you need all that much movement or extra movement, but wait for the isolation class because that'll be something you can do in a chair or standing up. So yeah, just I think normal stretching, whether you have a foam roller, that's always good for your body. Epsom salt baths, that's also good.
Warming up before you dance.
Warming up before you dance, yeah. So not going to the extent for your stretches before you actually get warm. I actually do a little bit of stretching in the beginning, like before moving. Move a lot so your muscles are good to go, and then I stretch more at the end to kind of cool off and lengthen the muscles that I am trying to stretch. So that's probably better.
So fancy.
That's why you gave me the mic. But I'm going to turn this over to Brian because he's going to talk about yoga.
Yeah, so I think anything. I just dropped my little.
Mic down.
Mic drop. Mic drop. It's just a.
It wasn't the mic. It was the little squishy thing.
Yeah, so I had a coach. I ran in college, and I had a coach by the name of Tom Derderian who literally wrote the book on the Boston Marathon. Imagine like an Einstein character with a crazy hair. That is Tom Derderian. I love him. And one of the things that he said to me, by the way, the very first practice we had was was like a race, just a local race, right, that the team met up with and just ran as a training run. And there was a forest fire in the woods of this place, and he still made us run. So I distinctly remember running through a forest fire. Anyways, in the conversation we had afterwards, the first time I met this guy, he said that he thought that people got too into cross training for running, and that his theory was to be a better runner, you needed to run. So if you have time to spend in becoming a better dancer, the main focus should be dancing. If you have 10 hours in your schedule to dance and you give 5 of it to yoga classes and other things, with the express purpose of getting better at dancing, I think you're shortchanging yourself. Now, if you say, hey, you know, I'm aging, or I'm not particularly flexible, and I'm not particularly strong, or I don't have enough stamina to dance that many hours, and you need to supplement that with stretching and running and anything else, I think that that's a good way to go. But make the dancing the priority. And then things like, I do love yoga, by the way. I think yoga is amazing. I like hot yoga. My back is super bad now, so I really can't do too much. But I was a big fan of yoga, and I was stupidly inflexible when I started, and yoga got me to be not Emily flexible, but pretty flexible. So I was a big fan. And I don't, and you tell me, you guys, well, your mom's a professional ballet dancer. You dance ballet. You did too. So you tell me, but I don't know that ballet directly relates to what we do too much.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, it absolutely does.
So there are like body positions and like your core.
I stand corrected.
Like ballet helps everything. And this is coming from a person that doesn't, well, not everything.
Not
but I mean in life in general, like it can teach you good life lessons, but also like in dance, ballet teaches you a good core movement, core control. Control is the right word. And it also allows you to know that your hips, your ribs, your shoulders, they can be in different positions, and you're not stuck with wherever your body is naturally set. Like you can turn your hips one way or the other. You can suck your belly button into your spine and create some stability there. You can roll your ribs out or in and still be, in different positions. So do you have anything to add to this, Emily?
Yeah, so ballet helped a lot for a lot of different dances because, like Megan said, posture is a huge thing for dance. But one thing that's also important is the connection, and that actually comes more from the core and the arms and not necessarily being further away from your partner. So one thing that I like to do, and Brian makes fun of me, but I do planks every day. And I think that's a really good way for your entire body to get warmed up. So Angela, you were asking about, what to do before practicing. I don't do this all the time, but I do like to do planks. Just because I don't do it here doesn't mean I don't do it. Ben's giving me a look. But just because it does, it engages your core, it engages your leg muscles, it engages your feet, it engages your arms. You can even do like little pulses with your arms. So that's one thing that I really like doing. But ballet absolutely helps, if not for posture alone, the control of of your body that you have is huge.
If ballet didn't help things, football players wouldn't take it.
That too. Boom.
I stand corrected. However, if you...
But don't try to do cha-cha.
Yeah, but if you are not, and let's get a little bit more practical, right? Like these guys dance ballet. Like how many ballet classes have we been to in the last decade? Right? Not a lot, right? So if you're an adult, recently, and you're like, hey, I want to add ballet to my regimen, it might not be practical, right? Like it might be an hour class. Finding an adult ballet class is weird. If you're a guy, it's even more weird.
To teach adult ballet.
She did, but it's harder, right? So if you get a little bit more practical, and I did not grow up doing that, and I had success as a dancer. So the question is like,
Don't need it.
if you
no.
correct. So if that presents itself, they've presented the case, and the prosecution may rest.
We didn't mean it that way.
No.
It does help a lot. And so if you didn't have that background, doing yoga and doing planks and that kind of thing is extremely helpful.
And I'm glad you brought it up, because I wouldn't have poo-pooed it, but I wouldn't have thought about when Megan started talking about alignment stuff, right? That's stuff that I learned in two places. Number one, through dancing. And when she said understanding that your body is naturally in a particular state just through life, like we sit a lot, my pelvis is anteriorly tilted.
Well, I have a lot of students for some reason with their pelvis that sits more forward than backward. So I'm constantly getting them to set their hips back when they're like in a sitting position. This is very nice. I don't have to hold it. But when they're in like a sitting position, most of the time their hips will be more forward, and I have to get them to sit back. So I have to get them to tilt their pelvis back a little bit, but then pick up their ribs at the same time.
Hanging skeleton.
So yeah, the hanging skeleton. So,
Not that had
What's
but
up,
like,
Ray
with what you
Fry?
were saying, sorry.
but no, that's great. So it's like if you need to address that and understand your body, right, and you've got 15 minutes or even an hour at night. There's no ballet class when you're obsessed at 11 o'clock at night at the house. You either have Netflix, sleep, or nothing, right? Or some West Coast swing in your living room. But that's why I like the link that I put in both YouTube and Facebook. I think the channel's now, they changed the name, they rebranded. It's called The Ready State on YouTube. Kelly Starrett's his name, and he is phenomenal as a physical therapist. And so if you watch a handful of his videos, you'll start to understand a lot about the human body, and you'll start to understand about why your hips are stuck in a particular way or why your shoulders are forward. And you'll learn some exercises and mobility things that you can do in 5 or 10 minutes here and there that will completely change your approach to your body.
For sure.
So for those of you guys who don't have access to an adult ballet class, this is a very practical way, and a little bit more practical as we get older and these patterns of movement get stuck in us, shoulders forward and hips in positions and all that stuff. So Dwayne says, don't read this out loud. Sorry. Sorry. I apologize, Dwayne.
But he thinks yoga rocks.
But we're not reading it out loud. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Oh my god.
Thank you, dancer ma'am from Oklahoma 401, who commented on. It's incognito. That way no one knows who it is.
See it, so.
Yeah.
I'm
There was
blind.
a question on the other one.
Question on the other one. Question on Facebook.
Gordon.
Do you feel nervous when you were first teaching in dance? I'm not going to read all the comments. Do you feel nervous when you're first teaching and dancing? Yes. Yes. At this stage, after 23 years and 20 some odd countries around the world and maybe 40,000 hours of being on the dance floor, I am generally not nervous. I've learned to just calm that, and it just doesn't crop up much at all. Still, on occasion, there's moments, but through a ton of experience, it's gone away. But save for 40,000 hours on the dance floor, 100%, right? The first time teaching in different areas, the first time teaching different sets of students, the first time having a student come through the door. If you're not prepared for classes, there's all that. So like I said about new people walking into a West Coast Swing event, like expect to be the deer in the headlights, right? Like these lights that you guys can't see off camera, they're blaring in our eyes. A little bit we've become oblivious to them, but the first time we started putting lights on ourselves, it was a difficult experience, but eventually you become normal. So yeah, that's totally. Ray says he needs to improve my posture. Emily keeps him on his toes. Ray, you need to roll through your feet, get your heels connected to the ground, keep your pelvis in the right place. And if Emily fails you, don't worry, we've got other people here to take care of it. No, I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. I'm just laughing at me reading a comment out loud that I wasn't supposed to read.
But that people can read anyway.
That everyone can read.
I didn't even think about that. I did.
Sweet. Any other questions before we get out? You keep asking questions, we'll hang out. But if we have no more questions, Benjamin's waving.
Did you feel nervous when you were first teaching?
Did you feel nervous when you were first teaching?
I was trying to think back, and I think my first lesson was with Tyler, and no. And then I think one of my other first lessons was with my student Tom, and actually, no, I don't think I felt nervous at all. But going back to the preparedness, I am a planner. I like to have things planned out. If I do not have a plan and I have not gone over it in my head, I do not like doing it. So like on the fly stuff, unless I'm super comfortable with it already, it's not a nervousness, it's an anxiousness.
And I'm gonna tell this story. I've told this a bunch, so this is not
know what you're gonna tell,
right. So Megan, when she was a student, right, she was obviously pretty advanced, and so she would help me in group class, and she's fairly shy. So a lot like the early West Coast Swing videos. By early, I mean all the way up until now. Megan was just quiet, and she did her part, and she's a great partner for me the Vanna White of West Coast Swing was a great teaching assistant. But at some point, a lot like our videos recently, where I was like, hey, we need the engagement, we need to hear your voice. Megan had not taught at all in this point, and it was literally a beginner class. And I said, hey, you've got to teach the beginner footwork, right? You've got to just tell the followers what you've done a gajillion times: walk, triple step, anchor step. And Megan cried. Do you remember that conversation?
No, I remember crying for having to answer questions on video.
That's recent, but I remember that's fairly
A few years ago.
A couple years ago. But the point was, it was a big, and I'm saying that because it was not her natural state, right? And I tell people all the time, those of you guys who don't see her talk on video, she's fantastic, right, in person. But the talking in a group class was uncomfortable at one state, and then boom, she overcame that, and Megan's been a professional teacher for a long time now. I distinctly remember in my driveway, you were in my car, and you cried, and I felt terrible. But I'm a teacher at my core, so I know exactly when to poke, and we went through the same thing for the videos, did we not? Right? I was like, Megan,
Sort of.
you teach.
I actually suggested the most recent microphone issue. We only had one.
Yeah, we now have 2 microphones. So anyways, yes, it is normal, to answer your question, to feel, did you feel nervous as a teacher?
Oh, I did not want to teach at all. Okay, so let me go back. I had taught kids for the longest time. I had taught at my local studio, ballet, jazz, blah, blah, blah. So when I started at Go Dance, I started in an admin role and not actually teaching. So my partner, Darren Paul at the time, he wanted me to start teaching, which would open up availability, blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to teach adults because I thought that they were arrogant and they were not ready to learn and all this kind of stuff. Well, that changed. So I was super nervous. Much like Megan, I don't do it as much now, but I totally planned out all of my lessons, and I did wedding lessons for the most part in the beginning, which was super fun and easy. But yeah, I didn't want to teach at first, at least adults, but then I got over that, and now I love it. And I don't plan at all anymore, at least like random lessons, but.
Right.
We have one more teacher in the room, so I'm going to answer this question. Were you nervous, Ben, when you first started teaching?
Never gotten nervous teaching somebody. I always got nervous when a coach was watching.
So Ben said he never got nervous teaching someone because he's a pretty confident individual, but he got nervous. Yeah, he got nervous when other people were watching him teach,
No,
right?
like coaches.
Coaches.
You.
Coaches. If I'm in the room, I'm watching Ben teach. Yeah, and so this is an interesting thing. This gets me in my philosophical approach to things. But at this stage, this is the part that interests me, right? So as a competitor or dancer or performer or teacher or social dancer, whatever stage you're in, when you get to that position of being nervous. So this can happen walking into a studio for the first time. It can happen being in a group class. It can happen going to your first event. It can happen doing your first competition. It can happen doing a high-level competition. When you first teach, when another coach is watching you teach, any of those scenarios, whenever that nervousness is, and we had this, I wish we could tell our story too. Whenever that thing hits, there's two things that are going to go on. There's like the reaction, the nervousness, and there's always a mental trigger that's happening, right? So the question to ask yourself is what's going on inside that's causing that? Because the faster you can overcome it, the faster you can understand it, let it just go away because you understand it, or actively go about fixing it. Because there are people who are generally more anxious. What are we laughing at?
Fixing shyness.
She's like,
No fixing shyness. Sorry. I mean, you can get better at it, but not fixing it.
Right, and
You
so,
can't just wish it away.
but to that point, right? If you understand, like that's your natural state. It's just your natural state. That's totally fine. But it's not you're not weird. You're not whatever. That's just your natural state. Like you don't have the extrovert want and need to be in front of people. So, but to understand that. But if you don't understand that, right? And Megan starts comparing herself to the extroverts in the room, which is basically the rest of us. You know, and she starts to go, oh, what's wrong with me? Like, I don't want to just be in front of people like Emily does. I don't just want to talk and like Brian does. There's something wrong with me. There's not. So you have to uncover whatever the trigger is. Do you have anything to share on that? I could talk all day on that.
No, I feel like I like talking in front of people. I like people. I like being in the spotlight.
Find somebody who's been through it, like me talking to you.
Yep.
To help you through it.
Yeah, and so find someone that's been through, Ben just said off camera, like find someone, or behind the camera, find someone that's been through what you're going through and ask them and help them work you through it. It is a huge value. And that's why I said, we had a conversation with a student fairly recently, and they said, well, I want to be part of someone's journey. And I said, you can already, immediately. You don't have to be some high-level person. If you're a couple of steps ahead of them, and you've overcome anything, you can share that with the next person, and that deepens your understanding of the next that. My mom just joined the live feed. Rick Rideout just joined. Jessica just joined. What's up, gang? On Facebook. We're kind of winding down. If anyone has any questions.
we should have a big party. Ray wants a big party when all this craziness is over.
Yeah, Ray says there's going to be a lot of big parties when this is all over.
They're going to be partying in the streets.
There's going to be partying in the
Dancing in the
streets.
streets.
6 feet apart.
When this
For a
is
while.
over.
Yeah, well, who knows? That's another deep philosophical question. Cool beans. Any other questions, guys? Anyone? Bueller. We can talk about West Coast Swing. We can talk about country. We can talk about ballroom. We can talk about coronavirus. We can
Send
talk
us
about
questions for our next Q&A.
or anything else we want to see moving forward in our live schedule. We should have the final live schedule out for next week. Most likely with the time tonight, we'll have it up tomorrow with the links and stuff. So there's no classes tomorrow, but we'll have stuff going on next week.
Practice everything that we did this week.
That can be what you do tomorrow.
Practice everything we did this week.
Or you can rest.
Or you can rest.
Is okay too.
Rest is okay too, says the
For
introvert.
those of you that want to dance.
Yep. And I will be absent maybe a couple of days next week. My niece and nephew are moving to Louisville, so that's pretty exciting news for us. My sister and her husband and niece and nephew, who are 13 and 15, are moving to Louisville. My brother-in-law has already started his job here, so the family is up here with the kids being out of school. So that's exciting for me. And so we are doing a hiking trip with the kids for an overnight, because you can do that during coronavirus. You can go out into the middle of the woods because there's no one around. So it's totally one of the things we get to do. So I'm going to get to do that, and I'll be absent for a day or two, probably 2 days of classes. But
We got it covered.
they
Got it.
Ray asked, are all the live classes in YouTube? Yes, Ray. Your resource to what's going on for our live schedule West Coast Swing Online /live. West Coast Swing Online /live. What's that, Ben? Oh, .com. WestCoastSwingOnline.com /live. Sorry. Jeez. Or you just.
Giveaway.
Yep. So that will have all the schedule. Will have the links to the replays. You'll be able to see everything. And then our giveaway. Ben, do you have the link, the giveaway link? Ben will drop the giveaway link in both YouTube and Facebook. We're doing a giveaway, $500 for private lessons for anyone, whoever wins.
A teacher of your choice.
A teacher of your choice. So we will give you $500 to spend in private lessons. So if you say, I want to take lessons with Ben Howard, we will write a check to Ben Howard, and you'll get $500 worth of free lessons to spend with Ben Howard, or whoever the teacher is. If your teacher is in Norman, Oklahoma, and your teacher is Joe Steele, we will write Joe Steele a check for $500, and you will get a lifetime subscription to West Coast Swing Online. It will also help us get the word out as we're sharing more and more cool stuff. The link has just been dropped in both YouTube and Facebook. So someone says, what are your favorite West Coast Swing songs to dance to, and what are your favorite YouTube songs to dance to? So Emily, two-step YouTube. It's been a day. 2 nieces and nephews overnight. We're watching movies till like 2 a.m. Here, Emily, you can answer that. I'm going to drop the links.
Okay, so there's a couple of different options. We do have the 10 best practice songs for West Coast Swing on West Coast Swing on Live, and I think Brian is going to drop that link in there. Anything that has like steady beats are good to practice to. The one that we did for the 32 count choreography, the Nice to Meet You, is a new one from Megan Trainor and Nicki Minaj. We also have a playlist on our YouTube channel. Is that new?
Yes.
Okay, so that's new feature for you. As far as two-step, we also have a super good resource. We did the 10 best practice songs again for those, and then I made a list of like 50 plus country songs that you can practice to with different BPM, so beats per minute. And then I also made an unconventional two-step one, so ones that you necessarily wouldn't think could be two steps that are. So I think Brian's gonna put both of those in there in the drop down.
And I got something to say about that too.
Cool. Dance Monkey is another good one to practice to, which we're going to be coming out with a cool video for that, so be on the lookout for that. Really, a lot of the top 40 stuff is fun to dance to, a lot of country stuff too, so Slow Roll by Everett is a good slow one. Missing You by Betty Who, that's not new, but it's good. That rhymed before the good part. Yeah, so check out those resources. And then again, top 40 stuff for the most part are really good West Coast Swing songs at the moment.
Hang on, give me one more second.
And until then, what's another one? Ed Sheeran is really, really good. Bloodstream is an awesome one. A Fire Love is good. Shape of You is fun. South of the Border is good. His new collaborations album, Collaboration 6, I think it's called, has a lot of good songs for that. So, Man of the Woods is good by Justin Timberlake. I could keep rattling songs off, but here you go.
We're going to make it easy. So there is a link in the description in both YouTube or at least in the comments in YouTube and in the Facebook feed. So our top 10 West Coast Swing practice songs are in there. There's a separate link on a different site that we just created. So this is kind of a soft launch of countrydanceonline.com. So you guys can head over there. And I'll explain that in detail in just a second. But I dropped a link for our 10 best practice songs for country two-step. We also have built out a resource of 50 practice songs. So Emily has broken them down from slow speeds to medium speeds to fast speeds, so you can look at the beats per minute. She's broken them down for about 2/3 of them are country, but there's a third that are non-country, so some cool non-country tunes if you love two-step but country music isn't your thing. So that's broken down there. You can download the list as well, and you'll get a PDF. The PDF is clickable, so when you click the link, it will link out to a YouTube video that will play the song. So that's excellent. So both those resources are great. And if you're a country dance fan, head over to countrydanceonline.com. It is very similar in its structure to westcoastswingonline.com. So there is 3 things you can do on the main page. Number 1, join our email list and get a free membership. Number 2, you can go to the resource page that has, I'm going to look at it right now so I can tell you what's on it. It has beginner resources, it has 2-step resources, it has resources to master your spins and turns, styling resources, popular articles for country dancers, which include things like the 2-steps music, articles like 10 things country dancers do differently, 7 tips to master your 2-step, the challenges of country dancing with their answers, lots of cool stuff, tips to remember your patterns, what shoes do you wear, what's the etiquette for country dancing versus other dancing. So that site is built out in its general sense. We are currently finishing up the videos. We're a little behind schedule just because there's so much to do, but pretty soon within yeah, what's that?
It's like coronavirus got in our way.
Yeah, so, but pretty soon we'll have 100 new country dance videos up on the site. So whether you're a member of Country Dance Online or West Coast Swing Online, both of the front sites, West Coast Swing Online, Country Dance Online, has all the resources for country and or swing. But then when you are a member on the back end, for your $20 a month, you will have access to everything. So it doesn't matter which site you enter through. Once you're on our video page, it will include all the videos we have. So in the end, in a couple of weeks, we'll not only have 400 or 500 West Coast videos, we'll have the first like 100, 120 country dance videos, and from there we'll keep it updated as we build it up. So this is going to be an incredible resource for social dancers, country, swing, or social dance in general. So whether you are dancing 2-step and East Coast swing in a ballroom dance studio and just want to learn social patterns, all of that will be included. So we are hot and heavy. Any more questions?
One on YouTube.
One on YouTube. What do we got? If you had to pick out just one song for West Coast Swing and one song for 2-step that you just have to dance to, which would it be? That is an awesome question. Yeah, so I was gonna give you a second because you're the introvert to think and start with Miss Emily.
I can come up with
But yeah, so 2-step, we both have the same answer.
You Move Me, and I have no idea who
Garth
said it.
Brooks, You Move Me. That is my all-time. It is so non-traditional of a 2-step. It's definitely a 2-step. That is my favorite 2-step song.
It's super traditional. It's just not a driving beat.
Correct. And for West Coast,
It's Garth Brooks, man.
I don't know.
South of the border.
No.
yeah. So for West Coast, I
I like Tiptoe.
by.
Fun.
Do you know who it's by?
No.
Jason Derulo. Jason Derulo.
Tiptoe by Jason Derulo.
She's our memory.
I
really like music.
I've always liked all upbeat stuff, right? So that whenever the Uptown Funk song comes out, like whatever, every couple years there's that like super upbeat funky song that everyone loves, like all the Michael Jackson music. That's the stuff that really gets me going. So something like Uptown Funk would be my favorite type of song. For you, West Coast and 2-step?
So while I love You Move Me, it's a beautiful song. Just to See You Smile by Tim McGraw is probably my favorite 2-step song, I guess to date, as far as country 2-step. And then West Coast is a little bit more difficult, and by a little bit I mean a lot, because I'm very indecisive.
I just picked one.
Can't Stop the Feeling by Justin Timberlake is probably one of my top favorites.
That's one of mine too, in the funky, cool, upbeat. Yeah.
Because it just makes you want to dance. And then the Meghan Trainor song, I think it's I Feel Better When I'm Dancing. Again, upbeat, super fun. As far as slower stuff, I don't know. Definitely not happy. Lose It's good. Mates of Soul is good. No, I think it's different than what you. It's a slow one.
Yeah.
Acoustic's good by, I can't remember who it is, by Raoul something. But anyway, that gives you a few. Indecisive.
Bingo. See, Megan was decisive. Who knew?
I kind of just picked one. I don't really have a favorite.
I like it. That was my choice. Just to see you smile. That was the song I heard in the bar when I broke up with my girlfriend when we were dancing and when we were first went to
one is lie, cheat, steal. What is it?
Drink, Swear, Steal, and Live.
Yes,
Two-step
that one.
song.
That's my favorite.
Oh, you
That's
checked? No.
for sure my favorite.
Drink, Swear,
Can't
Steal,
think
and
of
Live.
songs, and that's been my
It's on
all-time
the
Live.
favorite
list.
for a very
They're
long
all
time.
on that list.
They're on the list, so hunt the comments section, and you can even go to the 10 top two-step songs, and there's a link that you can download the top 50 songs that Emily broke down. It's on a PDF. It's all clickable. It's super cool.
Dwayne, that is a very good song as well. Classic.
Yep, and so before we sign off, what's this?
I don't think it has anything to do with this.
Not to do with us. Yeah, before we sign off, if you guys are hanging out with us, you are our super fans, and we really appreciate you. So do me a favor, share this stuff with your friends as we are excited to build out helpful stuff. You know, it's not just a coronavirus thing. This is kind of what we do. As a company, we are just...
Video people.
Yeah, well, we're dedicated to dance stuff in general, right? We do a couple of different events per year, and we have a couple of different studios and the online videos, but this is really strengthen our resolve to support more and more dancers, not just West Coast dancers. A lot of people don't know that that's, and if you kind of heard about our histories, even though we've all danced West Coast from the start, right, of our partner dance career, right? It's not really the only thing we do at all, right? We actually spend a lot of time doing a lot of different stuff. So I would say that as strength-wise, we are pretty well-rounded, but we're also supporting the social dancer. You know, obviously competitors, we compete and we teach competitive students and all that jazz too, but we understand that most people are not those people, so we want to be able to give resources that are useful for everybody across all the different dance forms, and we've already kind of eliminated the ones that we're not good at. Personally, shag, maybe Lindy Hop, Argentine Tango for me, triple two-step for me, but the rest of them we're pretty darn good at, but we will bring you awesome resources in those dance forms as well. So do me a favor, share our stuff, share our YouTube channel, share our Facebook page, share the website, and if people land on our email list, that is really the best way for us to communicate the coolest stuff we have to offer at a given time. So thank you, Miss Emily. Thank you, Miss Megan. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. And we will see you guys again soon.